Orville Ketchum, played by Peter Spellos, is the protagonist but often perceived as the antagonist of two franchises. Yes, the Slumber Party Massacre franchise and the Sorority House Massacre franchise. Now, how did he get to be in both? Now, that's a story I gotta tell, but we'll get to that later. Orville Ketchum is not a horror villain, nor is he a horror final person. And for those of you not in the know, a final person or a final girl or a guy is the last person or the survivor of a horror film. Now, while it's possible to call Orville one of the two, Orville is essentially a red herring. Now, what is a red herring? A red herring is a storytelling device that is used as a distraction to keep the audience away from asking or suspecting the more important detail. Well, a red known-wheel herring is in the cartoon called A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, where Freddy is always pinning all the mysteries on a kid named Red Herring. So the goal of that kid is to take the blame and to keep us from trying to guess or figure out the real culprit of the show. Just like in the movie Scream, they do this a lot in these movies by making people who are innocent seem guilty. And those people are essentially our red herrings. But you probably want to know, how did Orville get to be the face of two franchises? Well, the answer is in sequels. Yeah, they should connect, right? Well, sometimes they don't. And in fact, they tell a new story, but rarely is a part 2 of a sequel a part 1 of another franchise. Yeah, like, did you know that in the movie Sorority House Massacre II, it's not a sequel to Sorority House Massacre 1? No, it's actually a sequel to Slumber Party Massacre 1. If that makes no sense, allow me. You see, Jim Warnarski saw some unused sets that were in Roger Corman's studios, and he was given permission by Roger's wife, Julie, to film there while she and her husband were out of town, only under the condition that Roger not find out. But it was written, cast, and filmed under the name Jim Warnarski's House of Babes. This was filmed in like 7 days, I think, but no one was there really to overlook the film. So Roger would eventually find out, and he'd see this finished product, and he liked it. And he was like, why don't we change the title to like Nighty Nightmare? Why? Because everyone was trying to get in on that Nightmare on Elm Street craze during that time. And after further consideration, they all had the bright idea to switch it to Sorority House Massacre II. Oh, but the movie was too short, so they needed some filler footage. So someone had an even brighter idea to grab some footage from Slumber Party Massacre 1, thus making this movie a sequel to both movies without having anything to do with Sorority House Massacre 1. So in an attempt to make another movie that would separate the two franchises, they would go on and make a Die Hard ripoff, as that was like the wave at the time as well, by putting those same characters in the movie and using more footage from Slumber Party Massacre 1 and Sorority House Massacre 2, thus cementing a connected universe. I don't know, maybe someone was drunk or high, but the purpose of House of Babes, which went on to be known as Hard to Die, never separated the movies. It just connected them even further. Is it crazy? Yeah, I know, but there's more. Now back to Orville. Orville is usually seen as the killer in every movie he's in, but that's just like the gist of his character. He's this big, sweaty, and creepy looking dude, and with like a twisted sense of humor and epic storytelling skills. Orville is always the suspect number one, and not just because he looked like the type of guy that would toss women in a van. I mean, because he does have that look. Orville has a knack for telling grisly murder stories as if he was in the room while they were happening. Now be mindful, he never said things like, I heard this, or I heard that, or I saw this, or I saw that. It's always seemed like he's the guy telling the story from a first person point of view in ways that only the killer or the victim would know. So his look, his sound, and weird attention to detail make women he vows to protect, because he do vow to protect them in this movie. But they always then suspect him of being the killer early on in the movies. But the big problem is Orville just happened to have the perfect look of what a killer should look like. Aside from being this huge presence in movies, Orville is somehow immortal. Yes, like through these movies, he seemed to be trying to help these women. And while they're trying to run away from the actual killer, he somehow come up on them, startle them, and in that make them distrust him And then they end up murdering him, thinking they're getting rid of the killer. Because Orville has been stabbed, shot, drowned, bludgeoned, killed in various ways. But he never stays dead because somehow he keeps coming back only to try and save these same women who keep murdering him time after time, thinking he's the real killer of the movie. And one of the best running gags about this character is though Orville doesn't die, he seems to maintain whatever damage he suffers from one movie and it carries over to the next. For example, if Orville dies from a knife to the stomach, he'll show up later with a mortal wound still trying to save these women only to be murdered by them in a different way. It's just the way this character is built. And though Orville Ketchum exists in 2 franchises, Peter Spellos, the guy that plays him, has been known to play Orville Ketchum-like characters in other movies that possess the same hero's mentality and the same immortality. It's like never explain why he's so durable. He just is. So, in a world full of people oblivious to the supernatural and the menacing, there lives a guy who's just trying to keep evil at bay, even though it keep costing him his life. Peter Spellos is Orville Ketchum, and he is hard to die.